Hello, participants, and welcome to IntelliPath. In this course, we will be learning about software testing. In software testing course, we will learn various things starting with introduction to software testing, different types of testing, different categories of testing, software development life cycle, software testing life cycle, test cases and the execution of test cases, defects writing, defects reporting, and the defects life cycle, different metrics that would be produced while you are testing, the test plan document on how to prepare it, and also we will look at automation and some automation tools and understand how automation can be used in testing. So to start with, let us first understand what is software testing. And even before we understand what is software testing, let's first understand what is a software. A software, in simple words, is nothing but a set of instructions which are assembled together so that a particular action or an operation can be performed. Let's say you want to purchase a t-shirt at a mall and you want to pay for the t-shirt at the mall, you will be using your debit or the credit card. Now, in order that the store person makes the payment and records your payment for the transaction, they would be using your debit card, swiping it, noting the details, contacting the bank, taking the payment from the bank, and then give you the delivery of the t-shirt. So it sounds as simple as that, but there are a number of transactions that are happening in the background wherein you are handing over the debit card to the store owner. The store owner is swiping the debit card. It is contacting the bank's gateway. The bank is checking whether the card is correct. The bank is checking whether you have the correct balance. The bank is checking whether the store owner can be provided this payment. Then the payment is processed, which basically says successful or failure. And then the payment is made to the store owner, and then only he hands over the delivery of the t-shirt to you. So you see there are a number of transactions, or let's say called as activities, which are happening while you're trying to buy a simple t-shirt. So software is involved in multiple things over here, right from swiping the debit card or the credit card to reading its details, contacting the bank, getting the card information, getting the account information, getting the status back from the bank, supplying it to the store owner's bank, and it could be different banks also over here, and then having the transaction successful. In this similar manner, there are multiple softwares that we use on a daily basis. On a daily ongoing basis, there could be buying of milk, buying of cheese, buying of fruits and vegetables, or maybe let's say if you're paying for your car ride, or if you are getting your salary, or if you're paying for any expenses, anywhere. It is either money coming in, money going out, or it could be as simple as surfing the internet, wherein let's say you are using a Google search engine to search something, you are using Microsoft PowerPoint as a software to create slides, you are using Microsoft Word to create a document, and so on and so forth. So these kind of softwares are always available, which are called as let's say utilities, or which are called as banking applications, or which could be let's say your booking applications or hotel applications and e-commerce applications and so on. So all these applications in the background basically have huge and huge lines of code written, which could be in thousands, let's say 10,000 lines of code and 20,000 lines of code written in different programming languages such as C, C++, Java, .NET, and so on, which would enable you to use the software for a particular business transaction, or for learning, or for browsing, or for surfing, or for watching an audio, or watching a video, listening to audio, sharing files, sharing photos, and so on. So that is in short what is meant by a software basically. Now coming to testing. Testing is basically a process which will help you to identify how good is the software that you are using. Now, if you look at testing other than software testing, it could be there in your day-to-day life also. Let's say if you're even buying a t-shirt, again coming back to our earlier example wherein you are buying a t-shirt at a particular mall, you will be testing the t-shirt for your size. You will be going to the trial room, you will be measuring the size, you will be verifying whether you fit into the t-shirt, you will be checking the color, you will be checking the buttons, the collar, and so on and so forth, the fabric, stitching, everything. So you see, testing is always present, it always exists in our day-to-day life. In terms of software testing, we are talking particularly about testing of a software, like the number of softwares that we just mentioned a few minutes ago. So in there, what we are doing is we are utilizing and we are using the software in different permutations, combinations. There are different test strategies or different activities that we are performing with the software, and at the end of the testing we are determining whether this particular software can be used in the live environment, or does it have to be tested more, does it have to be fixed, are there any issues which the end user might encounter. Software testing basically involves verification and validation, which is in short called as the V and V process. What it basically does is it verifies whether the software is working fine, and it also validates whether the software should be working in a particular manner. Like we have mentioned over here, software testing is performed to verify that the completed software package functions according to the expectations defined by the requirements/specifications. We will see in detail once we understand software development life cycle on what do you mean by the requirements and specifications over here. But in short, if I have to mention, what it means is that let's say a customer has defined a particular requirement. Let's say you have defined the store owner that you want to buy a blue t-shirt. Then when the store owner is providing you a blue t-shirt, it definitely has to be blue, correct? Otherwise, you won't buy it because it is not blue. So your requirement is met only when the store owner satisfies it 100% and nothing more and nothing less than the requirement. And let's say if you have mentioned a collared t-shirt, then obviously the t-shirt needs to have a collar. And if you have mentioned a round neck t-shirt, obviously the t-shirt needs to have a round neck. So these are the requirements what you are providing to the store owner. The owner is basically verifying its inventory and validating that your customer requirements are met, and then he is delivering the t-shirt to you. Like the last point what is mentioned, the overall objective of software testing is not to find every software bug that exists, but to uncover situations that could negatively impact the customer usability and or maintainability. Like in your t-shirt example, let's say if it is of a different color or a different size or of a different fit, you will definitely not buy because it does not match your requirement. So like I mentioned before, the customer requirement needs to be met, and only then the delivery of that particular item can happen. That is why if you see, software testing is so necessary that it will ensure that the customer requirement is 100% met, and then only can the testing team specify that the product can be delivered to the customer. We need to understand why do we need software testing. Like we saw in the t-shirt example also, that software testing is very essential if you are paying, and let's say if the store owner is using a software which does not verify the card details correctly, and let's say if there is no balance in the card and the payment still goes through, and he delivers the t-shirt to the customer, and later on he figures out that there is no payment made to his account, basically that's a loss to him, and that's a loss because of the software which was being used was faulty. By faulty, what I mean is it was failing to detect the card details. Let's say the software did not verify whether the customer had appropriate balance in their account or no. Let's say the t-shirt was priced as 500 rupees, so the customer should have at least 500 rupees in their account open, so that when the card is being swiped, 500 rupees can be paid to the store owner. But let's say if the money in the account was less than 500, and still then if the transaction is going through, then it's a wrong validation from the software side, and which is very, very serious. Imagine if the store owner uses the software and provides t-shirt to any of the customers coming to his shop, he might have all the t-shirts sold but might not get payment for either of them. That is the reason software testing is very, very important. Like we have mentioned the first point over here, software testing is important as it may cause mission failure, impact on operational performance, and reliability if not done properly. In the second point, what we are mentioning is effective software testing delivers quality software products, satisfying users' requirements, needs, and expectations. So basically, the customer's requirement of buying a particular blue t-shirt and paying it correctly for it was met by the store owner. The store owner is also satisfied because he has delivered the product, the t-shirt, he has got the payment for it in his account, and the expectations are matched from either side. And since the software testing had happened correctly, the store owner got paid correctly. Hence, the transaction was successful and then the product can be delivered to the customer. Let's determine on who is a software tester. If we have to define it, like mentioned in the slide, we can say that software tester is a person who performs testing and finds bugs if they exist in the application under test. In plain language, if we have to say, the software tester is a person who is using the software as an end user. So let's say if the software was defined for the store owner to take the debit card from the customer, swipe it, ensure the payment is done to the store's account, then the software tester is a person who will put himself or herself in the shoes of the store owner and then have the transaction performed to see whether the transaction is going successful or no. Now, in addition to that, what software tester is going to do is to verify the negative scenarios also. Now, why I say positive and negative scenarios? Positive scenario is wherein the customer has given the debit card and the store owner is using the debit card in a really positive manner, in a happy to part scenario, entering all the details, verifying if the payment is done, and handing over the product. But let's say if the store owner wants to use the debit card in a separate manner, let's say there are some negative test cases that need to be tested. The store owner will not be doing it, but the software still needs to be robust enough to ensure that the software works. That is the reason software testing comes into existence. It will ensure that not only the positive test case is working, but it will also ensure that the negative test case is not working. So let's say in the earlier example wherein we saw the store owner was swiping the debit card, and if there is no balance, then that is a particular negative scenario what is happening. And in that negative scenario, the software should have alerted that there is no balance and the debit card cannot be used and the t-shirt should not be delivered to the customer. So these kind of scenarios are covered by software testers wherein they will use the debit card for a positive transaction wherein the transaction goes through successfully, and they will also try negative scenarios wherein the debit card should not have worked and the software should have alerted. So basically they not only have to try positive scenarios, but software testers have to be so analytically strong that they need to try the negative scenarios also. And believe me, the negative scenarios are the ones which have no limits. Positive scenarios would definitely have limits in terms of the actual functionality, what is expected, but software testers really need to be very, very smart, very detail oriented, and analytically strong to identify these kind of negative scenarios and put the application under test for these kind of scenarios also in addition to the positive scenarios, and then determine the behavior of the application. Thank you very much.